Okay, so there we have the altered scale exclusively, three different altered scales I want to say, over a dominant 7 slow blues progression. That's what we're problem solving today is what else can we play over the blues? I myself am pretty tired of pentatonic sounding, blues scale sounding guitar playing. It's something that I did a lot in my early years and just sort of moved past it. I really like Holdsworth and jazz fusion and even Malmsteen and a lot of metal and technical death metal and stuff like that. So I like more of the progressive element to it. So for me, using something like the altered scale gives a really great blend of the ability to play chord tones. Like you could play the root, the major third, and the flat 7. You get 3 of the 4 notes of each chord for each altered scale that we're using. And you also get the more dissonant, jazzy, exotic flavors. So you get the half whole diminished aspect from it, and you get the whole tone aspect from it, which is probably one of my favorites right now, as I'm leaning to this, right? So, man, this was more of an experiment, just in practicing for a little while today. I put a little bit of time into this because I gotta say, thinking of these scales was quite a bit of a challenge. You could think about the altered scale as a major scale with a raised root, but I can't play it that way, because if I try to play a major scale with a raised root, I'll go right to the root I played over the last 20 years. So in this case, it sort of took a reframing of how to think about it. But originally, to wrap my head around the altered scale, it was the melodic minor scale, 7th mode of the melodic minor scale, right? So there's still a bit of that happening, but the chords in this case are A7, D7, and E7, the 1, the 4, and the 5/7 in the slow blues progression. So over the A7 chord, I'm using the A altered scale, and over the D7 chord, I'm using the D altered scale, and over the E7 chord, I'm using the E altered scale. But I guess I still am thinking about them more as the melodic minor. So when the A altered scale comes in, I'm thinking B flat melodic minor. I'm thinking B flat, and I'm like, get that D flat, and then I happen to just have made the connection through a bit of work that D flat is the same as the C sharp. They are the same note, and that will give me a chord tone. That's a place I could sit on, and especially playing in a blues style, which is very bendy and expressive, it makes it a really accessible way to enter this scale. So it's like for the first time in a long time, I'm actually pretty excited to play over a blues track, and it feels great. Or I should say, as I started to go, okay, the main scale is going to be the A altered scale, but I realized very quickly from doing this, because it does have a turnaround and all that I really needed to know all 3 scales really well. So that first scale is a B flat melodic minor, that second scale is an E flat melodic minor, and that third scale is an F melodic minor. Those are all flat keys. The adjustments of the melodic minor I'm very comfortable with, so that's known here. So I'm like, oh, there's the raised 6, there's the 7, in terms of improvising, right? So if I do it without a progression, right, let's just say, flesh this out a little bit. So if I do it without a progression, I'll start in a different place. But if I want that A7, I got my right there, my D flat and my C natural, and so these act as just the same as you would in any blues, playing the minor third and the major third. So it's got that characteristic blues sound. If I just play that, then we're all good. And then even that, play the G. That's the G in the A7. But what I can't play if I want to stay in the altered scale is the 5th. I can't play that E. Instead, I get to go around the 5th, so I get to play the E flat or the F, and that's going to bring me outside. right? So you can hear, and you can play both of them. And the cool part is from there, you got that whole tone. All those are altered scale options, right? So if you're, and if I think about it in a sort of a physical approach, if I'm playing sort of close, right, and then I want to go into a little bit of a stretch and get more of that sort of outside whole tone legato, which is just directly from the scale. And then I get to top the whole tone out at the root of the chord. It's sort of perfect. I'm just really enjoying this. Now, before I even I did this whole tone idea here. I think I did it from E flat, actually. E flat, F, G. And then here is that diminished sound. So I get that half, and then I get the whole. And then if I want that other half, that gives me the third of the chord, right? So I get that, let's just say I start with that flat 5. Right, so you get that real outside sound that sort of spins into the right sound. Right, now those are, again, that's getting into the whole tone portion there. And then into the diminished. You know, so you could really, I can still even hear the blues, right? It's really the same practice then for the other two chords. When the 4 chord comes up, so there's my third of the chord. That would be my minor third of the chord, right? The E flat and the D right there. Those I feel like, okay, I know I can play the D. That's the root of the chord. The E flat will give it that immediate non-blues sound, playing a half step from the root, and then into the whole tone vibe there. But then the cool part is when it goes back to the 1 chord, I could then transition just that half step down. Now this is actually a common tone between those 2 chords, so I could play this over the 4 chord. I could actually play it over the 1 chord, and it's also in the scale of the 5 chord. So there's a couple notes like the B flat and the F that are actually in all 3. So they won't give you chord tones, they'll give you an extension sound, but you could then work from there as sort of a resolve. Again, if I'm choosing to stay altered and I want to avoid the 5, or I just move down from there into the 3rd. Right, so I have that sound there. When the 5 chord comes up, I'm thinking F minor, but, it's in the E7 chord, and each of those notes are in it, so if I can go get that half, hold, there's my B flat note, I want that A flat, that's going to be my minor 3rd and F minor, right? Or if I'm thinking the 4th note in the scale, and then you just keep putting it together like that and just using the scale tones. So it's really simple and a lot of fun. So if you yourself would like to be able to do this kind of stuff with this kind of ease and have the knowledge of the fingerboard like that, please feel free to send me a message.